Welcome or welcome back to the CNC Advantage. You're here with Christy and Cooper. Oh, he wants to do his own thing today. Shocker, right? Alright. Well, thank you for tuning in. We are here to do just a collective reading today. I got a brand new deck of tarot cards, so we're going to break them bad boys in. And we're just going to figure out what Spirit has to say today. So let's dig right in, right? Let's figure out the energy for the read. Right out of the gate, we have the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Queen of Pentacles in reverse might mean that you're putting the emphasis on the wrong things right now. That maybe you could be working on things more on your inner self than in your external world. So let's see what else Spirit has to add to that, right? What does Spirit want you to know right now? What does Spirit have to say right now? Ooh, that's a big clump. Okay, so we'll try to read it like that. What's on the bottom? We have the Hierophant on the bottom, is where we stop shuffling. So possibly dealing with an organization of some sort, some type of rules and regulations. Okay, your first two cards are the Queen of Swords and the Three of Cups. These came out upside down, but together, right? So the Queen of Swords speaks to someone who's good with isolation. They're sitting in feminine energy, and they are clear on what's true and what's not. And now that they're waiting for people to come to them, and you can see right through their bullshit, right? But it's a time. Looks like you have something to celebrate at the same time. Maybe you have a graduation coming up. Maybe your kid is coming out of high school. Maybe you have a wedding or something like that you might be going to, a reception. And it's a good time for you to get out and get around people, right? Right here, you're quite isolated and you're at peace being all by yourself, which is cool. That's great. But Spirit is saying that, you know, it's okay to come out of your shell and to share your gifts and your light with others right now. So get out there. You never know. I mean, I'm a bit of a homebody myself. I try to stick to myself and, you know, only do as I'm guided kind of thing. So you're being guided to come on out for a bit. Don't be that turtle hiding in your shell, right? And you're in feminine energy right now, so a lot of people see that as a weakness, but it truly isn't, right? When you stand in balance of masculine and feminine energy, it's actually quite comforting to others, you know, and I think they're going to find you endearing, and they're going to find your sense of truth and all that unusual, right? They're gonna be like, wow, I really like how you just give it straight. You're a straight shooter. I think people are actually gonna respond to that really, really well around this time. So, you know, don't hold your tongue. You know, if you think it needs to be said, say it. You know, if it's too, you know, if you don't have anything nice to say, then keep that shit to yourself, right? But it's a great time to be out and around others, and I think people are actually gonna find it very refreshing. Right, what you have to say. So you had a big clump of cards here come out together. So I'm going to read them all together like a storyline, right? You have the Knight of Swords in reverse, the Ten of Swords in reverse. Oh, sorry, that's the Ten of Wands. Yep, Ten of Wands in reverse. You have the Lovers in reverse. You have the Three of Pentacles upright. You have the Nine of Wands upright. and the Four of Cups in reverse. So let's see what we got here. You may have left a Knight of Swords behind, so someone who has been trying to pull one over on you. They're not a king, you know, that they've moved in real fast, and they tried to pull a fast one on you, but you saw right through it. You avoided the Ten of Wands with this person, a lot of burdens and, you know, the heavy energy. You avoided that. You know, you thought they were a soulmate, but it turns out they were a karmic soulmate, right? They weren't meant for you. It wasn't a positive, loving connection. And you were hoping to work with them on something new. Maybe a business adventure, maybe like a crafting thing, you know, kind of something new that you guys wanted to work on together. But you're gonna persevere by leaving them behind, right? You're gonna collect all your wands and theirs and hold on to them all. Right? And then your Four of Cups here in reverse. You're gonna have some moments of shit, did I do the right thing, you know? And it's okay to wonder on those things, but you got to come back to this energy, the Queen of Wands, and be like, you know what, I know my truth, I know what I deserve, and I'm gonna move forward with someone who's gonna treat me the right way. Because I tell you what, the Knight of Swords, even upright, can be reckless, right? They move real fast, they don't think things through. They're like, oh, I want to do this, but they put the horse before the carriage, or the carriage before the horse, kind of thing, right? They're always playing catch up, like he's running up to his motorcycle, and, you know, even the bird is like, what the hell are you doing? You got to go this way, you know. So the Knight of Swords wasn't meant for you, man. You know, if you're a queen, they vibrate lower, right? And you can't make someone ascend beyond knight status if they're not ready, if they haven't had their lessons, if they haven't walked their path. That is not for you to decide. You can love them, and they still are not right for you, right? So, and that's okay, you know. It's okay to walk away, leave those burdens behind, and just keep doing you. Because no one deserves a soulmate that's karmic. You know, that leads to abuse. That, you know, it does not lead to your highest good. Do you understand? And even though you thought that you guys could work together on this new venture that you had going, this new crafting thing, it looks like a crafting thing that you had going, some new creative idea that you had working for you. You don't need them. You never did. Sure, they had great ideas and this and that, but you're going to persevere. You can push through and do this all on your own. You really were giving them more credit than what they deserved. Okay? Now, you're going to have moments of sadness, and that's okay. You know, when you have a broken heart, you're going to sit there and wonder, God, I really liked it when we did this, and it really made me feel good to have love in my life again. And, you know, is it worth, you know, you're going to second guess yourself on these things, and you're going to go back and replay it in your mind. Well, maybe it could be this, you know. And Spirit is saying it was karmic all along. Even some of the things that they did say, you know, may not have been fully true, right? Because you got the Knight of Swords in reverse. They may have lied. They may have been cheating. They may have been doing things behind your back that you were not aware of. And I bet you no good or bad thing stays hidden forever. Everything comes to light. So other people are going to come up to you later and be like, did you know this? Did you know that? And you're going to be like, well, now I do. You know, and the Queen of Swords has absolutely no problem cutting through the truth And if you're not honest with them, she has absolutely no problem cutting your head off with that exact same sword. The sword of truth. Now that's how you set boundaries, baby. Right? Let's see. What else do you have here? See if there's anything else that you have going on. What else does the collective need to know right now? Now, you're going to have moments where you feel like a fool. Like, how did I get played? You know, I'm smarter than this. I've been around the block more than once. You know, I cannot believe they pulled one over on me. I totally got played on this one. And, you know, life is all about lessons, turns, curveballs, and it's about adapting and going with the flow. It was a lesson to be learned and nothing more, right? So just make sure that you take time to look at it and be like, what is there to be learned from this? Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Because why sometimes is a pointless question. How can I learn from all this? And that way you can take back your power. So you go from being a victim to being empowered on how to move forward, how to set healthier boundaries next time. You know, when someone does this, maybe I should question it, you know, not be afraid to speak up. Speak your truth. Be like, you know, I noticed this. Something seemed off. There you go. Ooh. All right, where we stop shuffling, you got the High Priestess on the bottom. And guess what came out? Death card. This is an ending. This is a rebirth for you, that you're going to start over, fresh, new. When you drop this dead weight, it's going to be much easier to go from the Queen of Swords into the High Priestess energy, right? You're going to connect with energy more. You're going to connect with your intuition. You're going to connect with energy much easier now, because this person was weighing you down. You were possibly feeling tired, fatigued, burdened, just low on energy, right? Your overall energy as a person, you know, maybe you were walking and exercising and eating right, and this person drug you down so much that you were eating the wrong things. You weren't taking your walks. You weren't exercising like you used to. You weren't being as kind to yourself as you were before they came along. When you release this negative, low vibration, it makes it much, much, much easier to step into what Spirit meant for you. And you are highly gifted. You are a divine being. You have achieved great things through your trials and tribulations, right? To start playing with the energy. So the High Priestess is a lot like the Magician, right? But it's feminine instead of masculine energy, which makes sense because you started out with the Queen of Swords. But the High Priestess can manipulate all 5 elements: air, water, fire, and earth. And you can speak directly to Spirit. You can hear directly from them and spirits, right? Now that they're gone, you're going to be able to see and feel these energies through you much clearer. You're going to have clarity of mind. You're going to have clarity of your aura. Your chakras are going to be more in alignment, which is great, right? I mean, that's what we're all working towards, right? You're going to let go of the 9 of Swords energy, this remorse and sadness of losing what you thought you had, right? The illusion that you thought was love, was a true golden soulmate. You may have even thought that they were your twin flame. This is not the case, right? Yeah, You saw them as your King of Pentacles. You thought that they were grounded, that they had their shit together, that they had an incredible way with nature, the way that they connected to it, right? You were very drawn in by their energy, but this whole time they pulled the wool over your eyes, and some people wear a mask so well that they look like the King of Pentacles. They're similar energies, you know, and when you're getting to know someone, you give them a chance to reveal who they are. You don't just listen to their words. You watch their actions and see if it backs up their words. Now, I don't have to tell you because you already know this. Their words were not followed up by action. The things that they said they were going to do, the things that they, you know, it's not backed up in what they do in their daily lives. You know, to take care of the things they love, to look out for others, you know, to truly have this grounded connection to the earth. Otherwise, you would have never stopped doing your walks. You would have never stopped exercising. You would have never stopped eating right and taking care of yourself and putting your self-love first. A King of Pentacles backs you up, says, I love what you're doing. Man, I might join you with it, you know, in it, you know, right? They were not what you thought they were, right? What's on the bottom of the deck? Oh, jeez. You got the King of Swords in reverse. Now, Spirit is trying to drill this home. They were not what you thought. It was smoke, mirrors, illusions, a mask, a decoy. They wanted you to see them a certain way, so they said all the right things and this and that, but they did not back it up. And what they wanted to do was actually suck off your success. See if they could take what you've made good about you and make it their own somehow, like a succubus, right? It was not good energy. And then they did it all by making you, giving you an offer of love, which you may not have had in your life in a while. So, you know, when we feel somewhat desperate, you know, like, God, I really haven't had love in my life in a long time. I don't need it, but I really want it. Well, that's a level of despotism, and that makes you vulnerable to people sometimes, and that makes it like an open doorway for them to sneak in, wiggle in through there. Oh, she might believe me because, you know, she really does want something good in her life, so I'm going to pretend to be that. But when his actions are doing the exact opposite, and you're like, you go to question them on it, and they're like, oh no, you're not seeing this right, you're just projecting your shit onto me. Be like, these are your actions, all right? This is your message of a passionate no, a creativity, you know. Spirit is saying this was more what you felt like before them, and you were all on your own here in this card, right? And you can have this again all on your own. Find the love within, find the love within Spirit, embrace that and move forward with just that. This person's love is toxic at best, and it is only going to cause more heartache, more turmoil. It is not going to benefit your highest good, right? Okay. I'm feeling that that's all there is. Let's see what's on the bottom of the deck. Again, you don't need this Knight of Cups, this offer of love that you thought was real. Okay? Alright. Well, if you like this comment, please, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. It helps out the channel, and I'm eternally grateful for all your support. In the meantime, in love and light, you guys.